Hi, I'm Suzanne Castle, and this is the Thought Leader Thursday. I'm here today introducing you to another incredible leader, thinker, doer, and all-around amazing human who's going to help each of us think about our world a little bit differently than anyone else. From artists to teachers, from actors to moms, from the big names to the you didn't know about them till now names, my hope is that you will connect with a leader who helps you light up in your corner of this galaxy. This is the Thought Leader Thursday show. Hi, I'm Suzanne. Welcome back to the Thought Leader Thursday. Today you are in store for a treat. We're going to talk about money, but not like you have ever heard before, because we're going to be talking about the value and legacy that your money can help you live a life of meaning, not just after you kick it. So I am so excited to be welcoming our guest, but hang on, you don't get to meet him just yet. First, Andrew, there's been a lot about being a goat, not like a nanny goat, but all the sports goats, right? So it could be Venus, it could be Tom Brady, boo, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, whatever. So I've been thinking a lot about what makes a goat a goat. What is that legacy that they're leaving? Where's a player and they're at their best? And so it really got me thinking my own legacy and what I want to be living and leading towards. So I want to ask you, what's the legacy that you want to leave, Andrew?
That's a really good question. I think I hope to be leaving a legacy of caring and giving to others. That's kind of what I try to do in my life, and I hope that comes through to other people.
Love that. Love that. And that is the perfect segue to our amazing guest. I want to introduce you to Kyle. So Kyle Gabhart's a native Texan. Thank God for Texas. We're all excited about that. Hi. And a father of 6. Let's have a moment for that, right? The fact that he's sitting here and has 6 kiddos and grandfather of 1.
Heck yeah.
And he's so cute with that grandbaby. Okay. He's also a serial entrepreneur, which that has my heart, because it's a different kind of spirit that leads you on that journey. And over the years, he's built businesses, he's sold businesses, he's written several books. Obviously, he's a high achiever, and he's even designed and licensed, I think I have this right, a board game.
That's correct.
We may have to talk about that. But now he serves for managing partner for Bluegrass Legacy Group. Now, this team really serves entrepreneurs and business owners and help them define a legacy and pass it on to the next generation. That is not just about generational wealth. It's about what you're doing out in the world with your purpose, your meaning, and your values and your mission. It's a different way of telling a money story and helping people think about resourcing, not just for now and not just for their own, but for the planet and the people that we occupy space with. So he's recently written a book, which is why I wanted him here today. We've been trying for a year to get him. He is so popular. I've written a book called Legends Don't Retire. It's so great. I've endorsed this book. I did a recommendation for this book. It is stunningly amazing. So the full title is Legends Don't Retire, and Neither Should You. And he's very enthusiastic in this book about sharing his faith, his passion for blending business world and ministry world and personal value world together. And I think if he had a tagline, like mine is, stuck is never the furthest you can go. And I think for Kyle's, it would be, a legacy shouldn't just be left, it should be lived out. And
Amen.
So Kyle, welcome to the studio. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I am super stoked to be here.
Yes, and that vest. You want to talk about the back of your vest?
I'd be happy
Nobody
to.
can see but me, and I love it. Yes, look at that vest.
El Dia de los Muertos.
We love it. It's like perfect timing, because we're taping this in October, not coming out till November, but
Right.
Perfect reminder. I love it.
You bet.
I love it. So we met a year-ish.
And some change. Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
At an event we were both sponsoring.
Correct.
A networking event for other business leaders,
Yeah.
speakers, that kind of thing.
Right.
And it was clear pretty quickly that you are this magnetic force in a room. Not just your voice. You're an incredible voiceover artist. You've been on the stage.
Yep.
We share musical theater.
Indeed.
Love.
Yep.
And obviously board game love. But it really drew me to you, and we started conversations about leadership.
Yeah.
And the kind of people that not only are we leading, but that we are instilling leadership in. I loved that conversation. It was great. It was wonderful. And since then, we've just kind of been friendly.
Yep.
And trying to help each other in our different circles of being.
Correct.
So when you called and said, okay, I have this project, I want to talk it through.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, wow, okay, great. And then you told me it's a book about leaving a legacy. I was instantly hooked. So tell us what got you thinking about your own legacy.
I love that question. It's easily my favorite one. It's also the one that ends up getting the most emotional the most quickly. So we're just going to dive right into
Let's do it.
From that standpoint. And it goes back to my relationship with my father and watching what he did throughout his life. He was a tour de force. Any magnetism that I have in a room is because of him depositing that into me and me just reflecting a little bit of that out into the world as I go. And he was phenomenal, so involved, such a change maker. 30 years in the pulpit, marriage and family counselor, all the things. And then after he wrapped up that career, did about 5 years in CPS, and then formally retired. Kind of the classic, what everybody thinks of, like you're done doing the things. And he was still volunteering and what have you, but pretty quickly developed Parkinson's around the same time. In his case, it was a fairly aggressive version of Parkinson's called progressive supranuclear palsy. And over a 6-year period of time, lost all of his faculties.
Wow.
Went from walker to weighted walker to wheelchair, catheter, feeding tube, and just continued to decline all the way down. And it was watching that process unravel, thinking about his purpose, what he had handed off, the things that he deposited into me, deposited into others. And then ultimately it culminated at his memorial service. And so what happened was, you think about the relationship that we've had, the connection we've had over the last 15, 16 months, whatever that is. And I think about the different touch points. I think about the different times that we've talked and deposited different conversations and different value into each other's lives. But then add a year to that, add 2 years to that. And let's say we aren't engaged in depositing into each other's lives, tend to kind of drift apart. That's just sort of a natural thing that happens. Well, then what happens after 5 years? What happens after 10 years? So my father retires from active ministry pouring into people's lives. 5-year spread of time, just kind of doing his own little thing at CPS, not directly interacting with people that would know him. He's still giving back, but not building connections and relationships. And then a 6-year process of decline during which he can't build meaningful relationships at all and can't even talk at the end.
Yeah.
So now he's set 10 years apart from a period of time when he could intentionally pour into people. And we get to the memorial service and my sisters and I are just sort of texting back and forth and going, who's going to even remember? Who's going to show up? Like, how is this going to go? And then my oldest sister sent a text in the text thread with the three of us. And it was a text that Harry Truman originally had the quote. And I'm going to butcher it, but it's something to the effect of, no matter how rich or powerful you become, the size of your funeral will pretty much depend on the weather.
Well,
right?
Yeah, but think about it. Right.
Because hey, we really need to go to Mr. Johnson's service, but it's raining. I don't know. Honey, can't we just send some flowers?
Right.
We'll just drop a card in the mail. We'll let it, I don't know. It's raining cats and dogs that morning. And so we're sending messages back and forth like, is anybody even going to be there?
Right.
And it was standing room only. 300 people from 6 states. They canceled vacations. They traveled from wherever. And I'm telling you, Suzanne, person after person had a different story. Let me tell you what Robert Gabhart did in our life 25 years ago.
Wow.
Let me tell you about that conversation we had. Let me tell you about how he turned my mother around, how he gave us the jump start that we needed, the positivity, the ray of sunshine, whatever wisdom, insight, guidance I needed at that pivotal point in my life. And it was 14 years ago, but it still impacts me today and has changed the trajectory of my family. Nothing would stop me from being here to pay my respects.
Wow.
And so that rocked my world and really crystallized for me, that's what a legacy is. That's what a legacy is. That's what it looks like. And that was 4 years ago now. And from that point forward, I've been absolutely on mission to tell anyone who will listen for a couple of minutes how crucial it is to, as quickly as possible, get to the core of who you are and what you're about. What is the unique set of skills, capabilities, perspective, experiences you've got that other people in the world are desperate to receive?
Correct.
And start getting involved in living and building that legacy now, rather than thinking of it as, I'm going to put nose to the grindstone, work my tail off, barely see my family, but it's okay because I'm accumulating all these assets and then eventually I'll make an impact down the road, unless you don't get the opportunity to do that. And you miss out on so many opportunities along the way. And so that's what I'm all about.
Well, so tell us a little bit about how, I just want to say thank you for honoring us with that story.
You bet.
So I do think that something happens to us in well, I don't want to use the word trauma because I'm not going to put a word on the situation for you. But when we go through something and we're either watching our own selves crumble or someone that we love crumble, something happens. And it's usually, it's a forked path. It's one or the other. I rarely see it in any other way other than the person doesn't ever recover. Right. And systematically that affects friends, family, loved one.
Right.
Or they use that as a springboard to be like, wow, what have I learned? How do I want to be next? And the power that you have in that. So yes, your dad gave you so many gifts, but unless you're using those gifts, right? They're just dying.
It's true.
And you're not allowing that to happen. And you really are about now, how can I allow others into this kind of wonderful world of establishing legacy, mission, and purpose from a really different aspect. So give us like some tangible examples. How does Kyle do this? You told me a lot about your daddy, but how does Kyle do this on the everyday?
It's a great question. A couple of things immediately come to mind. So one is, you mentioned earlier the tribe that my wife and I roll with. So 6 kiddos, 3 girls, 3 boys. We like synergy, and we like it to just
Bless
balance
your
out.
wife. Like I just want to give her a shout out for sure.
She's phenomenal. Phenomenal. She's the real hero. She's the real legend. So one of the things we do, and this was almost the same time period. It was certainly during the time period when my dad was declining. It was before he passed, but during the time that he was declining, it became so clear to me how important memories are, how important events are, more so than money. And the classic example is Christmas.
Right.
So you give the kiddo whatever, and they're so stoked about it, and they open it up, and I don't care what age they are, they're pretty interested in it for a relatively short period of time.
Right.
You ask them about it 2 months later, much less 2 years later, and they really struggle. What did I get for Christmas? I know it was was that 2 years ago? I got the sweaters, whatever, right? Or the toy that they had to have,
right,
or the game they had to, or whatever it was, but really struggle remembering those details. And what we did was we still gave a few gifts, traditional gifts, but shifted to the envelope system. So they get an envelope in the tree, and every single one of them takes the envelope down at the very, very end. And incidentally, this is also a little bit of a nod back to my grandfather, my dad's dad, because he started an envelope tradition. Now, his was straight up money, but it was connected back to the farm that my dad grew up on. And so anytime we would open it up and we'd have, $100, he'd go, I had to kill a calf for that. So it always had like some kind of farm connection to it, right? Sure. That was 3 chickens. Yeah. And so anyway, so I got the concept of the envelope from him. But what we started putting in it was experiences. And in some cases, it might be a one-off experience just for that kid. Like, you and I are going to go and do this clay shooting competition because I know you'll love it.
Right.
You and I are going to go see the Mavericks because you dig basketball and your brothers could care less about basketball.
Correct.
And then in other cases, it would be like, no, all of you together are going to go do this thing.
Right.
And so this most recent one, in August, I went and took all 3 of my girls to wine country, and we had a daddy-daughter weekend. It was just us going and hitting different wineries. Mom wasn't involved. The boys weren't involved, just us. And that was what I had given them for Christmas. And so they each had that same thing in their envelope. And it kind of timing worked out. The reason that August was the case was because the youngest turned 21 like 2 weeks prior. So it just lined up there. But that's a memory that we will hold on to for years, decades to come. I still remember when Dad took us out on that weekend and it was just us.
Right.
And really poured into us and just created memories and really. And so it's all about, it's memories over money, and it's events rather than just gifts. Well,
and I do something similar. So we do 3 gifts because just to get Christian on you for a second, listener. So listen up. But so Jesus got 3 gifts from the wise men. You're not. So you get 3 gifts.
There you go.
And then we also do some kind of something in the year that is a meaning maker. So I love the way you said that. Yeah. Like that's a memory builder, a meaning maker.
Right.
And to do that though, I mean, I can hear like the naysayers right now saying, okay, well that sounds great and everything, but you've got to have a lot of money to take 3 people to Napa. But it's not about that. It's about what am I constructing in my family? Mm-hmm. What lights them up? Like my daughter loves to go get her nails done. So it's, I don't obviously get my nails done, but she does. So I will go sit with her and we have that moment together. It's
sure.
finding those things together. I love
That's
that's
right.
how you're living that out. So in your book, Legends Don't Retire, you talk a lot about the different steps you can take. About it's really more of it's story for sure. And
Yep.
I've told you that before. I love the way you've woven
Mm-hmm.
it, but you give really actionable strategies on how to take the information and then now
Right.
what does this mean for me?
Yes.
And what do I want to construct?
Yep.
So everybody watching right now or listening in, give us maybe one or two ideas that would give a glimpse into the book. And then
Sure.
I'd love for you to talk a little bit about anything you want to share about this book that is so remarkable. Go buy this book. So
Fantastic. No, I appreciate that. First thing I would say is chapter 7 is sort of the culmination of everything and gives you a checklist and
Right.
like a follow through on here's the action steps you would take. And the very first thing it starts with, and this would be the other thing when I think about how I create legacy with my kiddos and in my everyday life, is go big is how it starts, begin in gratitude.
Yep.
And so begin any kind of vision setting, goal setting, planning, whatever you're doing, stopping and being grateful for where you're at, what you have, the situation that you're in. And at first glance, it sounds like it's like pop culture science, goofy frou-frou stuff, but it changes the wiring in your brain, it changes the chemistry, and it gives you a much different perspective on your planning when you start from a place of gratitude. And when you're
Absolutely.
thinking about where do I want to be in 20 years, if you're so broken up and frustrated and aggravated about where you're at today,
Right.
it's hard to really get plugged in and connected to that. So it starts with that, starting from a place of gratitude. And then it very simply walks you through a checklist of set up an aspirational vision 20 years out, set a key milestone at 10,
Yep.
set an incremental milestone at 3 and 5, and then eventually works you back to 1. And I know that sounds pretty straightforward and like, okay, that's so obvious. Why wouldn't we do that? And yet, time and time again, what happens is here in a few months, January rolls around and people set their New Year's resolutions. And what do? They say, well, here's this litany of things I'm going to get done in this next year. And their eyes are way bigger than their stomachs.
Absolutely.
Can't possibly do all of those things and set themselves up for failure.
Yes.
Versus if you work backwards and go, this is what success looks like for me, for my family, for
Right.
the impact I want to leave. This is what I'm aiming for. And then incrementally work your way backwards and build a game plan. Then when you get to the 1 year, the 1 year isn't this theoretical concept of like, I don't know, here's this random collection of things I want to change about myself.
Right.
It's no, given the impact I want to make,
Yes.
given the mark I want to leave, given the legacy that I'm looking to provide, I've already walked through the steps outlined in that chapter to go, well, then here's the natural, logical things
Right.
I would do in the next 12 months
Exactly.
in order to be moving intentionally towards that desired outcome.
And who do I need to come alongside me?
100%.
Because I don't think anybody does life alone.
Yep.
And so sometimes it's as long as you know what you're looking for. Oh, suddenly Kyle comes at an event and you're like, oh my gosh, our circles are intersecting
Yes.
in unique ways. Because it's not often I have a money person on my show because I'm the woo-woo person.
Right, I get it.
I'm like where the woo-woo meets the work, right?
Yeah.
But yet we have found all these ways to play together in different spaces. But it's because we've been very intentional about what we're building.
Right.
And so our eyes are constantly open to those opportunities.
So you don't want to see my spreadsheets that I brought?
Well, I mean, not really. No, I'm not the spreadsheet person. Like, let's be super honest. I'm a post-it note kind of a person for sure. So, okay, hold up your book. Let's get a good look at that.
Don't mind if I do.
There you go.
Legends don't retire.
I
and neither
love
should you.
it. It's so good. It's so good, Kyle. Okay, so how can people follow you? I mean, it's everywhere. It's easy to buy. Just type it in on Google,
For sure.
whatever, and you can find it.
Yep, yep.
Where you choose to purchase books is
Right.
what I always want to say. I
Yeah.
never want to give one person or entity credit over another.
Indeed.
But what are some other ways to follow you?
Yeah, I love that. So legendsdon'tretire.com would
Easy.
certainly be one option. The LinkedIns and the Facebooks and all of those good things. One thing I will point out, though, specifically on acquisition of books, is I have had a lot of folks come in and say, I'd like bulk copies of the book.
Yes.
And going to the normal website doesn't really serve that very well, and it's pricey because Amazon doesn't do bulk and other sources don't do bulk. And so instead, reach out to us directly, and we've had folks picking up 15 at a time, 25 at a time,
Yep.
35 last week for one event, and then just giving them out to people where it's the audience that would be receptive to that kind of messaging.
Right. And so if you lead a group, if you're doing a retreat, if
Yep.
you want a good corporate gift for clients, this would be something I would definitely consider for them. So, because I think it's miraculous and wonderful.
Appreciate
Okay, I
it.
can't let you go
Okay.
without telling me your own definition of what it means to sparkle.
Okay. It means being able to play. No, here it is. Got it. Oh, what did you do to me? You're killing me. There it is. There it is. It means being able to play with opportunities to squish people when
Yes.
that's presented to you. But separate from that, for me, what it means is, so if something is to sparkle, you would have to actually take some effort to remove whatever it is that's covering up and preventing it from
Yes.
sparkling. And so for me, that's leaving places, leaving people, leaving anything that I encounter better than how I found it. And that could look like a number of things. It might just be a hug. It might be a kind word. It might be a bit of wisdom, or it might be be a resource, but leaving that person, place, or thing better than how I found it.
I love that. I love that. I knew it would be a wonderful goosebump moment coming from you. Kyle, thank you so much for
My
giving
pleasure.
us time and attention.
Thank you.
Legends don't retire, and neither should you. Needs to be on your bookshelf in some way, shape, or form. So I hope right now, click the button, get it bought, and I will see you on the next Thought Leader Thursday.